Hey, welcome back, podcast friends. And today we have an interview with someone that I actually had forgotten. I actually put him in my book. This is Zack Walton, and I used to work with him when I worked at the hospital here. And I haven't seen Zack in about 4 years. And I remember when I was working with him, I was talking to him about everything that I was learning about nutrition and how we've been lied to for so long about all these. The way you have to lose weight is to decrease carbs and exercise more, and you have to eat high carb, low fat diets, and everything that's the exact opposite of the truth. And when I started learning this, I started talking to the people I worked with, and Zack was one of those. And without me even realizing it, he got on and he started doing it right off the bat. And he started losing weight so quick. I had to put him in my book as one of the people. So now he just contacted me this last week and said that he just would love to spread the word and that he feels so great after doing this and he wants to do anything he can to help others. And so obviously I said, hey, buddy, why don't you just come on my podcast? So, Zack, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. And I guess I'll just kind of let you go with it and kind of tell your story if you want to go from there. And I'll just interject questions every now and then. So
Sure.
what was so bad at the time that you wanted to listen to what I had to say? Was there any
Well,
condition you had or anything?
yeah. I mean, the first thing was kind of a little bit of background. My dad was a very, very heavy set guy. He was 5'4", 340 pounds, I think, at his heaviest.
Hmm.
And he ended up having gastric bypass
Yeah.
to lose the weight. And I always told myself I'd never get that way. I was very active in high school, and then life happens, and I stopped being as active, and I kept eating the way I ate. Uh,
Yeah.
but later on, or around the same time that I was working in pharmacy, I started getting to my heaviest. I was about 270 pounds, uh, and
And
at
how tall are you?
I'm 5'9".
Five
Yeah.
nine. Okay.
Yep. So and I had tried different things. I had tried, I had tried keto, but wasn't able to stay on it for whatever reason. I had, tried all salad diets. I have tried, lowering calories. I tried everything that I could think of. I get a big burst of, I'm going to change the way I'm going to do it. And then I'd hit the gym really hard, and then it'd just wear me out and I'd be sore and
Yeah.
couldn't work. And then I kind of got to a point where I kind of just given up on it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Right.
And then working there, you and I had started talking, and you kind of told me some things about, you know, the sugar and
Hmm.
these poisons that are being put into us. So I was like, oh, I'll give it a try. I'll listen, and I kind of worked myself into it, and I started feeling a little better, and so then I went full force into it. And about let's see, probably the first 2 weeks were the hardest for me, just because the first week was actually easier than the second week. The second week was the hardest. The first
Now,
week,
what? Yeah, I was gonna say, what exactly did you do during these first 2 weeks?
so the first 2 weeks I started. I went to a fasting model where I was fasting for 16 hours and then eating for 8 hours of my day. Um,
Hmm.
and whenever I ate, now I will be honest, when I first started, I didn't cut out all the carbs. I built my way up to it.
Shame
Uh,
on you.
I know. uh, but whenever I started cutting down carbs, and actually after the 2 weeks, whenever I was completely done with carbs, um, that's whenever I started not being as hungry. But the first week, I went from 16 hours fasting, 8 hours eating.
Hmm.
So I'd eat probably about an hour or maybe an hour and a half before I went to bed, and
Hmm.
then I was like, I'm gonna try to hide a lot of this fasting time whenever I'm sleeping, so it
Right.
doesn't affect me as much.
Right.
Um,
Definitely.
and also, I'm not a huge fan of going to bed hungry, so I tried to eat right before I went to bed.
Uh huh.
And then very soon, especially the first week, it was rough. I was a real big soda drinker,
Mm.
and it was something that was really hard for me to quit.
What
And
kind of
then
soda did you drink? Just out of
I,
curiosity.
Coke and Mountain Dew were the two
Okay.
biggest ones that I drank.
Yeah. Mine was Mountain
But
Dew and Dr. Pepper.
yeah, I hated Dr. Pepper, but but that, and then I was never a big sweets guy. Like I never ate a lot of candy or anything
Mhm.
like that. But I'm a big like bread and pasta guy. You
Yeah.
know, I always had some sort of meat that I was eating, but I couldn't eat the meat unless I had potatoes. I had macaroni and cheese, and I had all that stuff too. And um, so I just cut those down lower and lower, the first week and the second week. Um, and like I said, the second week, for some reason, the first week was rough, but the second week was really rough, for
Mhm.
me. With It was like my body was finally purging it all out. I
Yep.
guess I don't know if that's the right way to
No, yeah, it
describe
kind of
it.
is. It is. Your body
Yeah,
starts getting rid of all the toxins.
yeah, and I don't know if that's why, but the second week was rough. But then the third week it was completely different. It was almost like whenever somebody told me that I was going to turn 30 and I'd start feeling pains, I didn't believe them. But the day I turned 30, I started feeling pains. It
Uh,
was almost like that. It was like a switch. The third
yeah.
week, the hunger, like it was almost to where I didn't even need to eat, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it does. I don't get
uh,
hungry.
Yeah. No, and towards the end of the fourth week, I had to start making myself eat. I had to start reminding myself that, hey, you need to eat, even though you're not
Right.
hungry. You need to eat something.
Right.
Um, and then I just made sure that it was very high protein, high fat. So a lot of red meat. I mean, not a lot in quantities, but
Yeah.
mainly red meat.
You
Um,
can't eat a lot in quantities. That's the deal. I mean, that's why we never talk about, watching calories. You only have to talk about calories if you're eating a bunch of carbohydrates because you can eat a ton of those. And so you do have to watch
mhm,
calories. When you're doing meat and fat, your body, you just get stuffed. You
yeah.
can't eat that much and it keeps you full. So you don't feel like you
Hmm.
have to keep coming back. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Just eating meat and fat and don't really
Meat.
feel hungry.
Meat and eggs.
Yes.
Eggs are a big thing. I eat a lot of eggs.
Yeah, we do too.
Uh, but I mean, really, other than that, I mean, I don't. Every now and again, Thanksgiving, Christmas, I'll venture off a little
Sure.
bit.
Sure.
Just uh, Now, the other thing that was hard for me, was I like to drink every now and again socially.
Yeah. Yeah.
So beer and stuff like that was kind of hard. But I mean, I didn't drink every day, so it wasn't like it was a hard thing to quit completely.
Right.
And I still do it every now and again. I don't drink beer though because there's a lot of you know
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
drink
the wheat
more.
barley.
Yeah, I
Yep.
drink more like liquor if I'm going to drink socially now.
Yep.
Um,
We're the
but
same way. And that's
yeah.
usually what it is. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it really is the worst thing about drinks is the mixer because people
Hmm.
usually mix it with, whatever, tomato juice or
Hmm.
Coke or Dr. Pepper or
Hmm.
whatever. And it's the mixer. If you just have the plain alcohol,
Yeah.
it really isn't. I mean, if you're going to do it and just not do it very often,
Yeah.
that's definitely fine to go ahead and do,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I
And we do
think
the
so
same
too.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so you liked pastas and breads and all that kind of stuff. You
Hmm.
were able to totally stop that after the second week, or did
I
it take
mean,
a while more?
I probably, for sure, by the end of the third week. It didn't take me very long. After I saw what it was doing for me, I
Hmm.
mean, after the third week, I built myself up to only eating once a day. I
Yep.
the one time a day before about 2 hours before I go to bed. Um, and it was almost like once I got past the initial part, it was almost like a waterfall of it becoming easier and
Yes.
easier and
Yes.
easier and easier. Um, and I really do think it was because, I mean, I had before I had talked to you about this at the pharmacy. I had always thought that sugar was a drug. I was like, sugar's just as bad as meth. I mean,
Oh
you,
yeah. Yeah.
your brain's always thinking about it.
Yep.
And once I felt like I was purging that out, and I was feeling better, not as hungry as often. and all that, it just felt like it would became easier and easier and easier and easier. So
Right. So now, what kind of stuff do you eat? Because usually when you talk to somebody about going keto or carnivore,
hmm
anything like that, and that's kind of what we're mostly carnivore. We eat mostly meat, mostly animal
hmm
products. But every once in a while, we'll have, if we go out, we may have lettuce and tomato on our hamburger. We just get rid of the bun, get rid of the fries,
yeah,
but we'll still have some vegetables on there, everything. But what we noticed when we started doing this is, because, and it's what a lot of people say is like, well, so you don't have anything, you just have a piece of meat on your plate and that's all you're eating is meat. Is like, no, 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 no. It's like
yeah,
they forget you can have different kinds of meat. You can have, whatever,
yeah,
beef and shrimp or whatever. You can
hmm
have cream cheese,
yeah,
cottage cheese, Greek yogurt,
oh
eggs.
yeah.
Like I said, eggs. We'll do scrambled eggs a lot. What kind of combinations do you find?
My
Because I'm
my
assuming you don't just eat a little piece of meat, right?
no, no.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, unless I'm like,
Right, I
too
will.
too busy, and
Right, right.
uh, but for the most part, like, I'll take eggs, and I'll take steak, and I'll just dip it right in the yolk, which is like my favorite thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's so good that way. Bacon is a huge thing that I eat
Yes,
because it's
yes.
so easy, and you can eat pretty much as much of it as you want.
Yeah, yeah, you really
And
can.
yeah, so I mean, mainly it's meat. I eat chicken, I eat pork, I stay away from fish just because I'm not a big fish guy.
Uh-huh.
Just depends. Um, but pork, I eat a lot of pork and burger.
Mhm.
And I'm a hunter, so I eat a lot of deer meat.
Yeah,
Um,
good.
um,
You put a lot of
but
butter on everything?
I do,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah,
I
we
cook
put a
in
but
butter.
yeah, we cook everything in butter. Well, cook a lot of stuff in butter. We
Yeah.
olive oil, avocado oil, coconut
hmm
oil, we'll
Yeah,
stick to all those.
I used to cook in vegetable oil, and then that was something you had told me
Yeah.
about it being bad, and I was like, I never even thought about the oils being bad that I'm cooking in.
Oh,
So
and
and
and they're
everything,
they're horrible, and there's
yeah,
more and more stuff coming out all the time. I mean,
yeah,
it's not hard to find how toxic these vegetable and seed oils are. It's
and
for all
you,
kinds of reasons.
and you realize that once you start cooking everything in butter, all your meat in butter, it tastes better
Oh,
anyways.
it
So
does. It
it
does.
does.
It does.
So
And even your vegetables, if you are going to have vegetables, stick with the leafy green, stick with the
hmm
vegetables that grow above the ground, the ones that grow below the ground, potatoes and everything. Those have a lot of glucose because of the
right.
starch, because that's the nutrition for the plant. But we'll do broccoli and all that, and then just melt butter all over. It's like it's
hmm
wonderful. And here I was, for so many years, oh, butter's bad. Everything
Yeah.
that we thought was bad is good, and everything we thought was good was
Oh
bad.
yeah, that's
It's
why I wanted
crazy.
to say bacon was because I've talked to people about some of the things I eat, and they're like, "You eat bacon and you lost weight," and because everybody was told that bacon's bad for you, and it's not. It's so good.
Yeah, yeah. It's good and
um,
good for you.
yeah, it is. Um, but yeah, I do eat some vegetables every now and again, not all the time. Like I'll take cauliflower and I'll put a little bit of salt and stuff on it and kind of bake it, make it a little snack out of it sometimes. But nuts, I eat almonds. Uh,
Don't need a
Mainly
whole don't need a whole lot of those.
no, I eat some. I eat maybe a quarter cup a day if I
Yeah,
have it. Yeah.
yeah.
So not very many.
The only thing with the nuts and stuff, nuts and spinach and kale and things like that, almonds are good, but plants actually produce toxins because they don't want animals eating them. They don't,
Right.
that's how they survive. And one of the toxins that they produce is called oxalate crystals. And these crystals, they really do when people have been eating these for a long time, like people who eat a lot of, spinach smoothies and all this stuff, don't ever drink your vegetables or fruit.
hmm
Don't ever drink them. That
Yeah.
you've totally destroyed everything. But people who are eating these all the time, they found that when they stopped, they start getting little crystals coming out like around their lips and out of their eyes, out of their tear ducts and
hmm
everything, getting these little salt crystals, and couldn't find out they were oxalate crystals. Same thing that if you have renal stones, kidney stones, they're
hmm
usually calcium oxalate, and that's where the oxalate comes is from these plants.
Yeah.
So that's why. And our son was actually that way too. He was eating spinach and kale smoothie every morning until I started finding out about all this stuff and how that's not good. And
hmm
right at the same time I was learning about these oxalate crystals and everything, he ended up having his urinary bladder started bleeding, and they went in and had it scoped, and they looked and they found out that he was getting scarring.
Oh,
And I think
wow.
it's from those oxalate crystals from all that stuff he was eating is getting dumped into his bladder, and it caused
Yeah.
scarring, and it started bleeding.
Yeah.
So he had to go and have that healed up, and now he doesn't do the smoothies anymore. I'm so glad. But just things you don't think about. And
Yeah.
it's like when you do that stuff, if you just eat it every now and then, that's perfectly
Mhm.
fine. It's just when, if you eat it like the way we used to be able to eat it. You remember back
Mhm.
when we were kids, and if you had nuts, they were in the shell. You'd have to sit there and
Mm.
crack them with a nut cracker,
Yeah.
and you pick them out and eat them. Then
Yeah.
you don't eat a whole lot because you're just sick of cracking nuts by then. You may have 10. Now you
Yeah.
can have, a bowl full every single day if you want to, but
Mhm.
just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
But I love nuts too. I love mixed
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, and I don't need a crazy amount of them. Something else I wanted to say about the 2 weeks about it, I was struggling around
Mhm.
that time. I also noticed that I wasn't drinking the right amount of water intake at that time either. Once I increased my water intake, uh, the water helped so much it just by itself.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I was whenever I had hunger cravings and stuff, I drink a lot of coffee.
Uh-huh.
Um, I've switched to decaf because of how much coffee I drink. But uh, the coffee would help, stretch my what I thought was hunger, but it was really just my mind
Right.
um, a little bit further. But then once I started adding more water, because I wasn't drinking near enough water,
Yeah.
and once I started drinking the proper amount, I didn't even really need the coffee to stretch hardly anymore. Now I just drink it because I like it. So.
Right. So how do you drink your water? Do you have a water bottle that you
Yep.
measure how
Yeah,
much
I
you're
have a
taking in
I
every
have a
day?
64-ounce water bottle that I keep, and I fill it up twice a day, and I don't quite finish the second one, but I drink quite a bit.
6,420. Two of those is still quite a bit for you. If you take,
Yeah.
because your ideal body weight is like what, 170, 160, something like for
It
5'9"?
depends on what scale you're looking at, but some of
Well,
them say I
ish.
need to be, yeah, probably 170. Yeah.
Yeah. So that divided by two. So you're drinking, that's the amount of ounces you should have every day.
Yeah.
So 170 divided by two.
And I also work outside
24
and
ounces.
sweat a lot, so I drink a lot
Yes.
more water.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. That makes a huge difference
yeah,
also.
yeah,
Um, as far as food, because you own your own business,
yeah.
right? And it's
Hmm.
construction business.
Yeah.
And so, because a lot of people talk about how can you eat healthy when when you have to eat out and you're subject to, the fast food restaurants and all that
Hmm.
stuff people go. What do you do? Do you take anything to work with you, or is that that's during
Nope.
your time restricted eating?
Yep.
So you're
It
not
is.
eating during that time anyway.
Nope. And working actually helps.
Hmm.
Staying busy helps because it keeps my mind off of it. If I ever do get any hunger pains, which very rarely happens.
Right.
Um, uh, but yeah, no, working, especially in the type of work I do, I'm so physical. Um, I don't even think about it. I'm thinking about what I'm doing. So
Isn't it great?
yeah,
Did
it
you
is.
notice how much time you
Hmm.
gain by doing it this way? When you have time
Oh yeah.
restricted eating, you don't have to worry about what you're going to eat in the morning. You don't have to worry about fixing it, going out and getting it, and then what are
Yeah.
you going to have for lunch and all this. Is like just
Hmm.
don't worry about it. Just do
Yeah.
the things you really enjoy doing and
And I get an
save you.
extra 5 hours a week of work because I'm not
Yeah,
eating lunch. I don't
yeah,
even take a break really. I mean,
yeah.
I was really worried that whenever I started doing these fastings, at the very beginning, I was worried that if I did anything strenuous like worked outside or anything like that, I was going to get wore out. I was going to lose the energy. It's the exact opposite. The exact opposite. I actually feel like I can go longer and I don't get as tired or gassed as fast. So
Yeah. Oh, you are not alone. That is the most common thing people talk about. And they got to realize it's because when people are used to eating these carbohydrates all the time, their only energy source is glucose. That
right.
that that's all they can use.
Hmm.
And when you eat glucose, your insulin levels go high. So all you can do is force that into
Hmm.
fat. And then as your glucose levels go, now you're starving, so you have to eat again.
Hmm.
But the people
Yeah.
like you who've learned how to use their fat for their energy source, you always have energy. You've
Exactly.
always got fat on you. Always have energy. You don't get tired. You've
Hmm.
got lots of energy.
Yeah, it's the difference between actual fuel source and correct me if I'm wrong, fuel source and the fight or flight fuel source, correct?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what glucose is supposed to be used for. So basically,
Right.
when you're eating carbs, you're keeping your body in a fight or flight mode constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So
it's never supposed to be that way.
right. Yeah.
That's why stress management, sleep, and water are all three other things besides the nutrients you put in your face. But water we've already talked about. Sleep, you've already said that's so important. You really
Mm.
need to get 6 to 8 or 7 to 9 hours of sleep at least. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
really, and they say, oh, these people who say I can go fine on just 3 hours of sleep at night. It's like, no, you can't. And your body is
Mhm.
wearing out. So many good, healthy things happen to your body while you're sleeping. It's clearing out all the toxins and everything.
Oh yeah.
But so you don't get tired in the middle of the afternoon or anything,
No, almost never.
but you don't eat in the morning. You only eat it
I
in the
don't.
evening.
I don't eat morning or night. I usually eat around 7, 8 o'clock at night. So I
Yeah.
go from 7, 8 o'clock at night to 7, 8 o'clock at night, and I'm fine. I have
Have
no
you
problems.
have you talked to anybody else about this? Has
Yeah,
anybody
yeah,
that started doing the
yeah.
same thing?
I haven't got. I'm not as good at explaining it as you are, but I have gotten. My mother has done it, and she's lost about 40 pounds now.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
That is fantastic.
yeah.
How old is she?
She's
Ish.
52. 52.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
I didn't
and
realize.
she's actually diabetic. So she found out she was
Type 1 or
diabetic.
type 2?
I think is it type 2? Is that the correct one? Where
Type 2 is because of your nutrition, and you
yeah,
can totally reverse that. Get off
yeah,
all medications, everything.
yeah.
Which is so weird. It blows my mind that physicians today, nurses today, dietitians, that work with diabetic patients, they're still telling people just go. You can eat your carbs, eat the carbs you
Hmm.
want. Just make sure to give you enough insulin, take care of it.
Yeah.
And that is the craziest, stupidest thing I've ever heard. If you've got a problem with glucose, why eat glucose?
Right.
And anytime you eat a plant-based food, any carbohydrate, its basic building block is glucose.
Right.
And people, type 1 diabetics, if they quit eating carbohydrates, they could use so little insulin, and type 2 diabetics can totally get off of it.
Yeah. And
So
see, my mom never got on insulin. Her doctor had talked to her about what's that drug?
she would be
Ozempic.
type 2 then. Oh God, tell her no.
Yeah. That's what I did. I said, well, why don't you try doing it this way first? And she has, and she's lost weight, and her. I don't know exactly what her labs are, but I know they've been better. So.
That is wonderful. And if she wants, I mean, I would gladly look at her labs too, if
Yeah. Okay.
she wanted me to.
Yeah.
But that is so cool that she did that and she believes it now.
Hmm.
What about your wife? Is she doing anything?
No, she's actually pregnant right now, so she kind of just eats whatever she wants, to be honest, because
Oh,
she's
be
she.
careful.
I know
you,
she's.
you can damage the baby that way too.
No, I know. I try to tell her, but she's harder to convince because she's a little bit of a sweet tooth person.
Yeah.
But and she's so petite. Even though I tell her that just because you're petite doesn't mean there's, like you had said, there's not fat growing around your
Organs.
organs, and she kind of just.
She'll worry about that later.
Yeah,
She'll worry about that when
exactly.
she gets in her 40s
Yeah,
or 50s.
yeah. I'm trying though.
So you said you started at around 270, 275.
My heaviest was 270,
So what are you now?
195.
195. How long has it been since you've been below 200?
Uh, Before my son was born, so almost 10 years.
Really?
Hmm.
That is absolutely amazing. And you tried all kinds of diets too.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
said,
Yeah.
see, and that's the thing. I really want people to just like you said, this is not a weight loss thing. This is not about
Hmm.
weight loss. This is about health. But people, if they would just eat for nutrition, they would find that the fat comes off, the energy comes on. I mean, it's so hard to make people believe that. That's why I was so glad that you offered to come on here, because I really want people to hear that
Hmm.
people are doing this all the time. It's not some voodoo, that's
No.
going on here.
Yeah.
But the nutrition, just like all those, if you're just trying to lose weight, you could do stuff like Ozempic, which is horrible and has so many adverse effects to it. But all you're doing, using Ozempic is the same thing as doing something like a soup fast or whatever these other stupid things are that people, only eat cucumbers or whatever. Everybody has all these stupid things. But if you think about nutrition, you don't do that like now water fasting is different because that's just another way of saying intermittent fasting away.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a difference between starving your body, not giving your body the nutrients, and your body goes into survival mode. So it starts eating all your fat for its energy, and it starts eating all your muscles for its protein, and it's not getting its vitamins and minerals from anywhere because you just aren't giving the nourishment in through your mouth, you know?
Right.
So if you give the nourishment through your mouth with the protein, then your body, it's not going to use your muscles for protein because it doesn't have to because you're eating it. So you're going to keep the muscles there. You're going to keep your insulin levels low because you're not using the carbohydrates. And so you're forcing your body to eat its own fat for its energy source, which is exactly what you want. So by eating the meat, you're getting all your vitamins, all your minerals, all your protein. You're getting your fatty acids with a good ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. And you're not eating all those carbs that are keeping your insulin levels high. I mean, if you just look at the nutrition of it, it makes perfect sense. But again, we've been lied to for so long that people don't know that, you know? And that's why I'm so glad that you picked up on it right away. I was really impressed. And I can't believe you still stuck with it. I mean, I can believe it, but I'm so glad to see that you stuck with it all this time too.
Oh yeah, I mean, even if the weight loss hadn't happened, the energy level side of it and the feeling better would have kept me on it no matter what, anyways. And it it was it was hard at first, like I said, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't hard for very long, but the first 2 weeks, it was hard. But after that, it just got so easy. It's ridiculous how easy it is compared to all the other diets. Because I had done them for months, other diets for months, and yeah, I lost a few pounds here and there, but it never really got easier, you know.
Right.
So
And you probably were still hungry, right?
and I
If more
was,
so,
yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Huh. You just said something I was thinking about too. Had to do with the weight you lost. Ah, shoot, it'll come back to me. Something you said made me think about something that you were doing. Oh, plus that's the other thing is you said soda pop was your
Hmm.
downfall. You said you used to drink that all the time. I think that's what really make it hard for someone also because with soda pop, you have it with you all the time. I mean, you're just
Hmm.
constantly getting the sugar fix all the time. So stopping like that would probably be a lot harder than if you don't really have an addiction to soda pop, but you do like desserts and sweets, you know,
Yeah.
still bad, but
Hmm.
I could see how with you when you have something like soda pop that you have this
It's
cocaine
so
around you constantly,
right. It's
it's gonna
so
be so much
easily
harder.
available. I mean, every store you walk into, there's rows of soda to just grab, and yeah, it's
Oh, I know.
so.
That's the I really we don't buy food from the grocery
Mm,
store anymore. We just don't.
yeah.
If we're gonna have any vegetables, we'll get it from the farmer's market, you know, so
Hmm.
we know that they're actually in season. You know, it's not
Yep.
like strawberries in the middle of December. So eat it when it's in season. And our meat we just get from a local farmer, you know, and
Hmm.
we just get a side of beef and keep it downstairs. And so if we go to the store, it's gonna be more for other chemicals,
Right.
not the chemicals I'm putting in my body, but the chemicals
Yeah.
put on our clothes, on our dishes, and all that.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying that stuff's good either,
Yeah.
but at least
Yeah.
we're not putting it directly in our bodies.
Yep. I do the same thing. We have a farmer butcher down here, and that's where I get my pig, my hog, and my cow from. I get a whole cow at the beginning of the year, and then about mid year, I get a whole pig, and
Man, that's you got a lot of space, don't you?
yeah, I've got a couple freezers.
Freezer. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna
Yeah,
say because I'd like to get a pig, or I don't even know. Do you
yeah,
get a side of pig?
yeah. No, well,
I don't even side of
I don't
pork. I
know.
don't know.
You can get a half, a quarter, or a
Okay.
full pig, and I usually get a full of each one. And then I have three freezers. I have one for my cow, one for my pig, and then I have my deer meat freezer.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, you're probably really excited to go carnivore.
oh yeah, yeah.
And really, that's the way to do it. You know, it just
Hmm.
makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Um, Gosh dang it, I remembered it and I forgot it again. I need to write this stuff down as this stuff comes up.
Yeah.
We were talking about the beef, pork. Oh, and you say you have a guy by you that does the pork. You get your pigs from them.
Yeah, we have a butcher that's, I mean, it's 5 minutes down the road, and that's where, so we get, though he doesn't have the pigs, he has his own cattle, but the pigs we get from an Amish farm, just down the road a little ways. So,
Yeah.
and then I've got a buddy that I trade some deer meat, and he gives me eggs. So, because I can't afford to buy eggs from the store. They're ridiculous. So
No.
I trade meat for eggs basically.
Yeah.
So it's one of
And,
those things.
and it is worth getting your eggs that way also. That's
Hmm.
why I hated leaving there and I was getting my eggs from Ryan.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
but now we've got a same farmer that we can get our meat from, but they're at a farmer's market here and we get our eggs from there. He
Hmm.
actually sells his at the store too, but if you get them at the store, they're $1 more a dozen.
Yeah.
But it's so worth the cost. Oh, that's
Oh yeah.
another thing, cost.
Yeah.
Do you think it is super, super expensive to eat healthy and you just have to eat crap?
I think it's cheaper.
I think it's a lot cheaper.
I think it's cheaper because I mean, think about it. I'm not having to eat 3 times a day. I'm eating once a day, one time,
Right. Right.
and and most of the time I'm not even finishing that meal because I'm not hungry enough to finish that meal. I'm almost forcing myself to finish it if I do. Um, so I think it's cheaper, especially if you go to a farmer and get your meat directly and have it
Yep.
butchered.
Yeah.
It's way cheaper. So
Yeah. That's what we just got our side of beef. And with the side of beef, with the meat and with the processing, the whole thing came out to an average of $6 a pound.
oh yeah,
So we
yeah,
got ribeyes, T-bone
hmm,
steaks, sirloins,
yeah,
a lot of roast, ton
yeah,
of hamburger. I mean, so much meat. You
hmm,
can hardly buy a hamburger for $6 a pound anymore, let alone T-bone steaks
oh
and all this
no,
other stuff.
no,
And it's wonderful when the boys come in town. We'll all come over here together in the summer and we just go downstairs and thaw out whatever steaks we want and throw them on
yeah,
the grill. And that when the boys come in town and we used to go out for a steak dinner or something, that was a very, very expensive meal.
hmm,
Now it's just nothing.
oh yeah.
So
I
I,
mean, we go out sometimes. Our anniversary's coming up, so we'll probably go out. But uh, for the most part, we stay home, and I don't worry about I don't have to budget for groceries as much anymore because I spend hardly anything, and the most of it I spend at the beginning part of the year. I'm getting ready to go buy a whole nother cow, and then in the middle of the year I'll buy a pig. So I mean that's pretty
yep,
much all I buy. So
yeah.
it's way cheaper in my opinion. So
See, and that's what I thought too. People don't realize they'd have to actually sit down and write down, and that's what people who go through our course. That's something we're going to have them do for 1 week. Just write down every single thing you put in your mouth, everything you buy, and if you know about how much it costs, just write that next to it. And people don't realize when you're just sitting here and you're eating day in and day out, over and over because you're so starving. You got to have something from the vending machine or like at work where it's all over the um, conference room table and everything. But they're
yeah,
just food everywhere.
yeah.
Um, and they don't really realize how much that just nickels and dimes them to death. Even I was talking to one girl who did this, and the hardest thing for her to cut out, she was going by and getting Starbucks coffee every morning.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how much she said. It's somewhere like $5 to $8. I don't get Starbucks coffees,
I
but
don't either.
they're like $5 or $8 a piece. She
Yeah.
started adding that up. When you do that once a day for an
Hmm.
entire month, she's like, she had no idea she was spending that much because it just, drop in the bucket. And then she was going to the vending machines. Then you have to go
Yeah.
to some restaurant when you're hungry around lunchtime and all this. And it just keeps adding up. And people just don't think about that.
Oh no.
And
I mean,
that's why I
the
want to bring that up. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean the pop side of it. I mean, what a soda right now is probably close to $2 a thing, and I was drinking, you know, quite a few in a day whenever I was drinking soda a lot, and it was so bad that if I couldn't buy a 2 liter to keep at the house because I would drink the 2 liter in a whole night. I had to buy cans because that was how I knew it was a stopping point with a can. It was bad. I had no self control whenever it came to soda. It was so bad. So
You're not alone. You're not alone. I mean, it
yeah.
really, really, really seriously is addictive. And that's
Hmm.
what makes it so hard. It affects it's called the nucleus accumbens. It's the pleasure center of the brain, but it affects it the same way cocaine does. But that's what makes soda pop and everything so hard because even though that's as addictive and even more toxic than cocaine just, it'll kill you quick, to where
Hmm.
with sugar, you look around and everybody's doing it. So you think, oh, everybody's doing that. So
Yeah.
they must be okay.
Hmm.
I mean, until you look further and find out, oh yeah, everybody's doing it, and everybody is also extremely sick.
Right.
But that does make it a lot harder when you're trying to quit and everybody is around you. And
Mm.
that's the only thing, if you're stopping smoking, nobody will come up and say, "Oh, come on, have a cigarette."
Yeah.
And if you're stopping alcohol, nobody's gonna come up and say, "Oh, come on, one beer ain't gonna hurt you."
Hmm.
But if you're trying to stop sugar, everybody's like, Stop sugar. Are you kidding? No, come on,
Mhm.
have a dessert. That's not gonna. Oh, eat those fries. That's not gonna hurt you. They do that with sugar addictions, and they don't do it with anything else. And I don't really know why. I don't know if it's because they think there's really nothing wrong with it, or they're just really upset because you're doing what's healthy and they don't think they can do it. So they're going to
Mhm.
try to bring
Yeah.
you down. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is something to worry about. So that's what, if people are hooked on soda pop, without a doubt, that's the first thing. Try to get rid of that first.
Oh yeah.
And it may take a, a week or two. Did you notice after you start eating healthy that once you get your taste off of sweet, you're not, like right now when I eat sweet, I don't.
Mhm.
I don't like it. I've trained my brain to think that's poison. It's just like you get battery acid and it has that
Yeah.
tangy taste.
Yeah.
That's how I feel when I put sweet on my tongue. It's like, oh, that's not good already. But I
Mhm.
found that what I like now is bitter. So
Mhm.
like
Yep.
coffee, and I've always liked black coffee too. But other
Mhm.
things that are bitter, real dark chocolate, like high cacao, like over 80% cacao, that
Yeah.
chocolate bars or whatever there. But I tend to like bitter a lot more now.
Yeah.
Have you
I do
noticed that? Do
too.
you do that?
Yeah. I noticed my taste buds, they changed quite a bit. Uh, I was never a big bitter guy. Besides coffee, I always drink coffee, but I never liked chocolate at all,
Mhm.
especially dark chocolate. Now I can tolerate chocolate if I wanted to. Um,
Dark. Keep
dark
it with the
chocolate,
dark
yeah,
chocolate, yeah.
yeah, dark chocolate. Um, uh, the other thing that avocados. I mean, I don't eat very many of them, but they're good for you because they have a lot of fat in them. But
Yeah.
I used to hate them. I couldn't do it,
Yeah.
and now I almost prefer to do that over a candy bar if I had the choice. I'd eat an avocado. So,
Now, will
um,
you eat one by itself or just mix with something?
no, I'll eat one by itself now. But
Really?
before I couldn't do it. I
Yeah, I'm the
it,
same way.
it
The
was
texture
gross.
is something.
Yeah, I don't know
A
what it was, but I hated it.
and put salt. I'll put a lot of salt and I'll put pepper
Yeah,
on it too.
yeah.
But we'll put you mix the avocado in with things like Teresa makes a wonderful tortilla soup. It's called tortilla soup because the original soup you're supposed to eat with tortillas. So obviously we don't do that part of it, but
Mm-hmm.
it still has all the chicken and everything in it. And I'll mix an avocado with that, and it fixes it. It makes it go from kind of a watery soup to more of a creamy soup.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed that avocados do that with a lot of things. So
Yeah,
there for a while we were trying to eat one avocado every single day,
yeah,
but we backed off a little bit. Now you kind of wonder, you have to be careful where you're getting your
right.
avocados, and it goes back to the same thing.
Yeah,
And now with Bill Gates doing this appeal stuff that they're spraying on all the fruits, on the,
yeah.
fruits and vegetables, and just more chemicals that it's trying to put in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
But um, that's what I was going to ask you earlier. Did you ever have any pain issues? Just pain like knees, arms, shoulders, anything like
Oh
that,
yeah,
that once you cleaned up, you don't
yeah.
have that anymore?
I mean, I'm probably not the best case to look at because I do a lot of physical labor, but I had a lot of back issues. Being I used to play football, and I've worked construction almost all of my life.
Hmm.
So I have a knee, back, and my shoulders used to hurt me all the time, and they still do sometimes. Like I've been framing, so that's a very labor intensive. So
Right.
sometimes they hurt, but no, I'm not waking up in the morning and can't move.
Right.
I don't have to try to stretch or use a heating pad or anything like that. I just got to kind of work, start moving a little bit, and then I'm good. Uh,
Right.
it's nowhere near what it used to be. So,
See, I hadn't thought about that. And somebody else brought it up because I remember even back when I was working at the hospital, I would wake up sometimes and it's like my ankles hurt. It just took me a while for my body to get used to getting up and kind of walk to the bathroom a little bit slower and
hmm
everything. And come back. And I just never even thought about it. That just totally went away. I mean, I somebody asked me about it. I thought, you're right. I just
yeah,
jump up out of bed and that's not even a thought
yeah.
anymore. And so
I,
that's why I was wondering if you had anything like that that happened.
Yeah, and I'm no doctor, but I think it has because you had told me about this. But I think that whenever you're fat, and you're you're eating poorly, inflammation, right? There's a
Oh,
lot of
yes.
inflammation.
Yes.
So, and because I definitely get sick less. I almost never get sick now.
Yep.
Um, and I feel a lot less pain. So that, to me, it kind of goes
Yeah.
together. The inflammation side of it, maybe.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know. You would know more than I would, but that's
Oh, without a
where,
doubt.
yeah. So
Yeah. And that's where all the inflammation comes from. It comes from fructose, which is in sugar and high fructose corn syrup and fruits, because fructose is extremely inflammatory to your body. Plus, it all gets turned into triglycerides, into fat. And then, and again, we were talking about the vegetable and seed oils. There's so many different reasons why those are so inflammatory to your body. But yeah, so I agree. And that's the deal, is like I never get sick. You know, my family's sick all the time, and
mhm.
they're always, they're at this very point. I think every one of them is sick. Not my personal family, not my wife and my children, but my
Yeah.
extended family. And they're always talking about, is that COVID or that, oh, don't come around me, I'm coughing. Is like, I would rather come over and hug you than worry
Yeah.
about some cough, and still
Mhm.
I've, I mean, who knows? I mean, I could turn around and get sick tomorrow, but I haven't been sick. I haven't been since I left the hospital.
Yeah.
And even then, I never really called in very many days. And that's why I want people to understand also. It's like your illness is because you're not nourishing your body. It's
Right.
God made our body so awesome. If you just give it the nourishment, the nutrients it needs to function, it can fight all these. It can fight, I mean, that's where cancer's coming from,
Yeah.
Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease. I mean, everything. People don't realize how important it is to just give your body the nutrients it needs.
Mhm.
It'd be like you building the difference between building a $1 million home or building a $100,000 home.
Right.
You put stuff in it, you give it the stuff that it needs, and it's going to withstand. You get some little home. I mean, it may blow over in a big wind or something. I mean,
Not if I build it.
I just think, well, you're not going to build one of those. I knew better than
Yeah.
that. But what is there anything else? Anything that you would like people to know? I mean, other people are sitting out there thinking, "Is this real? Is this just another fad diet?"
Listen, I was in the same boat, where I had given up. I didn't care anymore. I was like, if I'm going to get fat and die that way, whatever. I can't do anything about it. I don't have the time to do anything about it. I don't have the money to eat all these things that people want you to eat.
Yeah,
But if you do this, don't do it for the weight loss. Do it
right.
for wanting to feel better, and then the weight loss will come. It will. I think it's impossible for you to do this for the health benefits and not lose weight. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want
Oh,
to
you
say that,
can't.
but I think it's impossible.
It is
Um,
impossible,
yeah,
because if you're doing it for health, you're keeping your insulin levels low, and
yeah,
insulin is the only thing that it has ever been shown to have a direct correlation to fat. High
hmm,
insulin, you store fat. Low insulin, you burn fat. And the whole key to health is keeping your insulin levels low. So you are right. If you eat healthy, you cannot get fat. You can't help but lose fat.
yeah. And I mean, I would suggest, even if you don't want to do the fasting side of it to start, just do the cutting the carbs. Just cut all the carbs, and eventually the fasting. I mean, it'll just happen because I think you're just not going to be hungry as much.
Right.
And also, I mean, it didn't, like I said, it didn't cost me any money to do this. It
Right.
didn't. It's not like, it's not like I'm up here trying to sell this to make money for somebody or anything like
Exactly.
that. It's nothing like that. It's free. All you
Right.
got to do is
Right.
just change the way you're thinking, and
Exactly.
it's crazy. And that, now that I'm saying uh, and I've done it, it makes sense. But at the time, I was like, they're probably going to make money off of me somehow. They're
Yep.
going, whatever.
I know.
And it's all just the way we've been told. I mean, the way I told people whenever they were telling me, why are you fasting? That's probably bad for you. I always told them, well, you think cavemen had enough food to eat
Right.
3 times a
Exactly.
day, every day? No, they didn't. Yeah,
Right.
our bodies aren't made for that.
That's
We're
right.
made to eat when we need to. So,
Yep. And I
I mean,
guarantee they weren't out growing a bunch of plants and eating all those either.
exactly. Yeah.
There's no
We
way
didn't
they were
have
going to
time for
sacrifice
that.
them. And that's what's crazy. In fact, I had him on my podcast. Some friends of ours, they actually live over in Massachusetts, and they're talking about the book, The Blue Zones. And in the Blue Zones, they make it look like all these little tribes that were out here, they're eating all these plants, and that's how they're staying healthy and all that. Is like, he's like, no, that is a lie. He said he's
Yeah.
been there, he's lived with them for like, weeks, months at a time. Said they eat meat every day. They're
Yeah.
always there. And that's their big thing is you get up and you go hunting. That's what you
Mm-hmm.
do. Um, so I mean, everybody it just I can't get through enough how much we've been brainwashed
Yeah.
and lied to, because the fact is there's a lot of money to be made off of sick people. And
Mm-hmm.
if the food companies can come here and get us addicted to their food and we get fat,
Oh yeah.
instead of saying, oh, you're getting fat, maybe we should change our nutrition. They just say, oh, don't worry if you're fat. You should love yourself no matter
Right.
what,
Right. Have
It's
you
like,
ever heard of those diets where you got to eat 10 times a day but eat smaller quantities? Yeah, that never works. You
yeah,
always end up eating the same amount of quantities but more times a day. It's just a way to get more money.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or,
So
or come on, I'll show you how to lose weight. First, you have to buy my supplements or my
yeah.
food. Is like,
Yeah. Oh,
I'm not.
my wife actually did this one time. She Beachbody. She
Yeah.
bought all these containers and
Yep.
and all everything that came with it, and the Shakeology and all this
Yep.
stuff. And
We did that.
I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much money that you're spending, and it's probably you still got to do all the work.
Yep. Yep.
This is
Yep.
free. You don't have to
Yep.
do any of it.
Yep, that's exactly true. And we did the beach body, and I firmly believe it. And that's still my workout. I still do body
Hmm.
beast through him, on the P90X. We did all that kind of stuff. And it is weird because back when I was obese and I lost my weight, that was back in 2000. And at that time, that is when everybody was saying you're supposed to eat like 5 to 6 times a day, just six
Hmm.
small meals a day. Just watch your portions.
Hmm.
And Teresa and I, we did it, and we were starving by the
Yeah.
time that next meal rolled around. It means like
Hmm.
3 or 4 is like, oh God, I couldn't wait till that meal rolled around.
Hmm.
Never dawned on me that it was because of what I was eating,
Hmm.
because we did clean it up by doing the beach body, or body for life was actually the first one we did. We did stop drinking soda pop, and we
Hmm.
did stop eating a lot of bread and a lot of pasta. We stuck to the portions. So I think the reason and we did work out every single day. That was
Yeah.
part of that program. You had to work out every single day.
Yeah.
But but I think we did lose weight because we did stop the soda pop and the
Right.
bread and all that. I'm almost
Hmm.
positive that's why we did it, because it wasn't the working out. I know working out isn't what does it.
Right.
You're not going to burn fat working out unless you're already a fat burner. If
Right.
you're already a fat burner, now if you go and you lift a bunch of weights, even for a half hour or whatever, you're using your fat that whole time because
Yeah.
you never were, using your glucose. So that's when you do lose your fat. Just like these marathon runners, the ones who are glucose burners, so they have to carb load before they go. And
Hmm.
then the people are carnivore that run, and they can run the whole marathon hardly without having to take a drink of anything except for
Hmm.
water.
Yeah.
It just it just a whole nother mindset that you get wrapped around. And like you said, once you start doing it, you realize, oh, this is cheaper. I have more energy. I'm not tired. I
Hmm.
have more time given to me because I'm not eating all throughout the day. It's
Hmm.
like, what is the downside? It's like, there's not.
Hmm.
there's not a downside that I can think of to eating healthy.
No.
So, but a lot of people who don't do it will come up with the downsides.
Oh yeah.
It's going
Yeah.
to cost too much. I'm going to get tired.
Yeah.
Fat's going to kill you. High
They're always
cholesterol is going to kill you.
Yeah, and oh, I'm glad you brought up cholesterol. I had pre and post labs. Uh, Back
Oh,
whenever
yeah.
I was pretty heavy, I had my cholesterol was high, and my sugar was high. I
Yeah.
was pre-diabetic. I wasn't diabetic, but I was pre-diabetic. Now I just had labs done 2 months ago. Everything is perfect. Perfect. They have she was like, I can't believe you've lost this much weight, and your levels are awesome. Nothing's wrong. Um, so
Isn't that
I
great? Not
Yeah,
not
it's crazy.
pre-diabetic anymore.
Not pre-diabetic. Yeah,
Isn't it funny how that happens when you quit putting glucose in your mouth?
yeah, yep. So yeah, no, I'm great. It's it's been This is the best thing that I've ever done, to be honest, for my health. So
Yeah, that is one. And once you know it, you know it. You can't
yeah,
unlearn it.
exactly,
If you
exactly.
if you start to get fat again, you know exactly why. It's like,
Yeah,
let's see,
yeah,
what carbs have I been eating here?
yeah.
you
Why
know, it's,
why are you being stupid? Stop being stupid. Yeah.
that's right. I
So
say that all the time.
yeah. So
Yeah, I forgot I was wanting to see your before and after labs. So
yeah.
if you wanted to send me to him
Yeah,
later or whatever.
I can get them. I think I can get on the
That's wonderful.
portal and get my previous ones. That was from 4 years ago, so I think I can get them. I don't know.
Your previous was 4 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
well,
that'd be great
no,
to
no,
see.
my previous, like before I started losing weight.
Uh-huh.
But I can get you my new labs pretty easily, but I don't know if I can get my 4 year ones
I
or
don't know
not.
how that goes through their portal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
or
not
he may
sure.
have. I bet you can. I bet you can
Maybe.
get that, or call the doctor's office. But I
Hmm.
would be curious to see what it is. You don't remember, do you, what your HDLs or anything was?
I don't know what
Yeah.
half of that means, to be honest. But
Yeah.
that was your job. My job was put the drugs in the bag.
Well, now your job's to read my book.
Yeah.
Then you'll know what it is.
Yeah. So
But I would like to look at him, and
yeah,
then if you want to send it to me, then I can tell you exactly what I'm looking at and why I'm looking at that, and I'll get it
sure.
back to you. But I'd be curious to see how you did too,
Okay.
because it is amazing, and that's the only way we're going to teach the doctors. And this is not their fault. They were taught the same horrible crap that we've been taught. They don't get
Mhm.
any nutrition in school. And so they're just so used to, go through school. They say, oh, you have this symptom, take this drug. You have that symptom, take this drug. Oh, those drugs interact. Well, take this drug. And
Mhm.
that's all they really learn. They never really, it's like they don't stop to think, oh, but what caused this in the first place? Is it
Mhm.
possible that the cancer and the hypertension and the cardiovascular disease and all this is caused skin conditions is caused from the same thing? It's like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Give your body the nutrients and it can wipe out all that. Even
Mhm.
with dogs.
Yeah.
Our dog had bumps all over its body. And somebody told us about that. Is like, this same dog food, same thing they treat, feed people. It's just all the
Mhm.
same ultra processed carbs, vegetable and seed oils. And now they don't put the sugar and high fructose corn syrup in the dog stuff, as far as I know. But once we started changed our dog and started just feeding him off our plate, just feeding him whatever meat we're eating it, we'd feed it to the dog also. All his bumps went away. He ended up with, he just had two little ones left on the top of his neck, base of his
Hmm.
neck. But everything else just went away. It's like,
Huh.
oh my gosh, I had no idea that it was the food that was doing to this to him.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Anyway, was that, unless there's something else that you'd like to say,
No.
um, I just want to thank you so much for doing this, for coming on, for contacting me and saying that you want to let people know.
Yeah.
Because that's awesome. That's what I think people need to hear. They just need to keep hearing that it is possible, and you don't get tired. You do have energy. The fat does come off, but it's all about nutrition, and
Mhm.
it's wonderful to hear you guys doing this. I'm so excited, and
Yeah.
congratulations on
Thank
breaking
you.
the 200 mark. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you have a goal?
I'd like to be. I don't know if I could do it because I'm a little bit. I've got a lot more muscle than I did in high school. But
Hmm.
I'd like to be back down to what I was when I graduated, which was 175. But I'm not sure if I can without losing muscle. I'm a little bit stockier than I was. So
Yeah, it's not about weight.
no, it's not.
If you get your percent body fat checked,
Hmm.
that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Get your percent body fat checked, but as long as you're eating plenty of meat,
Hmm.
your body should not take from your muscles, and that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. That's like all these Ozempic people and all these diet people. That's, they're seeing they're losing weight, but most of it is muscle mass. They're losing all the
Right.
muscle because they're not eating, and they feel like crap because they're not eating. They're not giving any energy source to themselves.
Yeah.
And including vitamins and minerals, and it's horrible. And they're still going around pushing this, telling people that this is the way to lose weight, and it
Yeah.
just makes me sick.
Yeah.
They figure it's lot. They make so much money off it. It's worth all the people who sue them, for all the adverse effects. They just pay them off and still rake in the money. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So
But well, that's all I have. If
yeah.
that's all you have,
Yeah.
and once again, I want to thank you very, very much. And for all the listeners out there, I want to thank you guys so much also for listening. And please take heed. I mean, and if you haven't tried it, just try it. If you drink soda pop, get off the soda pop first. Get your body, away from that addictive sugar. And then if you just start slowly getting rid of all the other carbs. Remember, a carbohydrate just means a plant-based food. That's all carbohydrate means, and all plant-based foods, all carbohydrates are based off glucose. So if you're pre-diabetic, if you're diabetic, if you have trouble with blood glucose, which most people do, you should use that as extra reason to get quit eating glucose. Just quit eating the carbohydrates because you don't need them. You could go your entire life, never put a carbohydrate in your mouth, and you'll be perfectly healthy. And I know a lot of people who've done that. So anyway, that's all I've got for now. As always, thank you so much for listening. Have a fantastic week. And as always, make simple, healthy choices to live a quality life.